Welcome back to another edition of Zero Block 30. Kate has a mouthful of yogurt. Say hello, Kate.
It's actually chia seed pudding.
It's what?
Chia seed pudding.
Chia seed pudding.
No fancy pants here. It really does.
I think one of my favorite things that doesn't get talked enough about Kate is how slow she eats.
Mhm.
Oh, yes.
It is remarkable. Like we got this food at like 2:00 and it was like a little bit of food, not much. Still eating on it. Like an hour and a half later.
I had to put most of it in the fridge. Well, I think I've talked about it before, but it all stems back to like a Learning Channel show I watched when I was a kid that said you're supposed to chew your food like 26 times each time so that you have a smoother. Picture me like the that Play-Doh thing where you pull the lever and Play-Doh smooth comes
Smoother
out nice
poop
and
is
smooth.
what we're talking about.
Yeah, if you want to make life easier on yourself and have smooth poops, chew a lot.
I eat real fast and I got no problem with thickness.
Your food probably comes out exactly as it went in. I don't want to think about it.
No, I have more than a liquid diet.
Anyway, I'm just saying, you chew more, then you eat slower, then you get full, you feel full faster, and then you're still out of shape. So it doesn't matter.
Very true. Cons is back from his big old honeymoon in France,
le
and that's
petit
what we're going to start the
fromage.
show on. Not poop talk. There was enough of that while you're gone, Cons, how was it being a fancy boy in fancy pants France?
Bonjour, Monsieur Chaz. Bonjour, Madame
Muted mic.
Kate.
That's enough already.
Comment allez-vous? No, it was unbelievable. Really, trip of a lifetime. I have to give so much credit to my wife, Alex, who planned just an unbelievable trip. She is a logistician's dream. I mean, she had time hacks. She had restaurant.
Did we have
reservation.
tertiary plans?
Oh, yeah. All
Yeah.
sorts of tertiary plans. Everything was,
Do you have ORM, operational risk management?
of course we did.
Kate looked
Just
at
in
me like,
case.
you see that, chaps? I know this military
I know
term.
that one acronym. Yeah. I know that one
Well done,
acronym.
Kate.
You stay within the leave perimeter?
Mm-hmm. Yes, we did.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what was your favorite part?
That's a great question. Our time in Saint-Tropez was actually a lot of fun. That was the one place like we really went out and stayed out late beyond just going to dinner. We had some experiences in some bars that even Alex said to me, should we become people that go to clubs now? And I said, no, definitely. We're not just completely just changing
like
and
what?
shifting.
Another couple send you a drink, and then next thing you
A
know,
pineapple drink,
truly
maybe.
an officer move.
I had no
Yeah.
idea that pineapple was like the universal symbol for swingers.
Where have you been?
Yeah.
Like how long has that been a thing?
It's always been.
It's always been. a
Yeah,
thing.
but you guys have to remember, I was Christian, so I didn't have a whole lot of
Yeah.
sex stuff
That's
going
true. That's
Well,
true.
so you're
You're
flinging pineapples around the clubs
Mhm.
Yes.
over in Saint Tropez.
on. Do
Yeah.
a little French kissing.
a little bit, not
Oh,
too
love
much.
So you're at these clubs and you're out at these bars and you're partying with other people. Was it other Americans and English speakers that you were like linking up and having fun with, or was just the two of you like just having good time on your own? Like,
It was both. I mean, she and I had a great time but then there were some nights where we met this one couple, these guys from New York City who
Mhm.
moved to Miami. We met this one lady who is from the UK. She from just south of London. And we ended up going to her hotel the next day for brunch at the winery where she was staying. So, but mostly it was just Alex and I
Yeah.
gallivanting about.
that's awesome. Love it.
Yeah, it was fun. But I mean, like, it was a serious 2 weeks. We went from Paris to Lyon to Aix-en-Provence to Saint-Tropez to Antibes to Nice to Monte Carlo, back to Nice, and then home. It was
That's too much traveling.
Yeah. And how was did you stop by any historical like any
But
war
Cons
sites, or-
is a busybody though.
Oh yeah.
I need it like that. I can't just sit in one spot for more than a
We're
day.
the
or
same
two.
And
that way.
it is different. Like when my family gets upset when we go to like Disney World Resort, I just want to hang out at like the pool and like
Yeah.
chill and just relax and drink a drink. But if you're going somewhere that far away, because realistically, how many more times in your life are you going to go to France?
Yeah,
Like
maybe one more.
one or two more.
Yeah,
So you got to see,
tops.
and that's how I view it when I go to like Hawaii.
Yeah.
You can't stay in the room. You got to go see fucking everything because it's so far away.
Oh yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And
No,
did you
so-
see any war stuff while you were there?
There was one picture I sent you guys. There was some monument to the Marines in, I believe that was Saint-Tropez from World War II.
Yeah.
The oldest stuff we saw was probably in Lyon. We went to a bunch of cathedrals and they were just extravagant, more extravagant than the cathedrals I saw when we were in Italy certainly more extravagant than anything I've seen here in the United States. And what blows me away about the buildings and all of the architecture over there is when you really wrap your brain around how old it all is. And you start to think, how did they do this without the machines that we have today? How did they build stuff that this is just so ridiculous? And you realize, one building could have taken them 20 years to build. Whereas we see buildings
easily. What's the Hunchback of Notre Dame? That cathedral.
He was only moving one brick at a time.
I mean,
slow as molasses, that guy.
And no power tools creating something like that is
That's
legitimately insane.
Yeah, I don't know how they did it. It was really
the same way like
modern
modern engineers look at the Great Pyramids and we're like, fuck, we don't know. Like,
we
don't know how they did it because we couldn't do it now. Like, if you told modern America, I was actually thinking about it when I got off that little AirTran, going from Newark to wherever you go, and I was looking at the train tracks, and I was thinking, what an unbelievably daunting idea to undertake that. To just have the idea where you're like, you know what? I'm going to take fucking these steel pipes, lay them from New York all the way to California. And that's how we're going to go. And we're going to do it with really heavy shit. There's no chance America now does an undertaking like that. None.
Nobody's laid pipe across the country like that since Wilt Chamberlain.
Exactly right, Kate. Exactly right. Today we have 4 rounds in the magazine. Round number 1, people in Delaware were calling the cops this past weekend for a noise complaint. And the party they were trying to break up, well, was an air show.
Yeah.
So they're not going to be able to do those F-18s and F-16s come in pretty hot and pretty loud. Well, round number 2, when the Bank of Zambia got hacked, they responded swiftly in the most Marine Corps kind of way by trolling the hackers with nothing but dick pics. Round number 3, going on leave. Don't forget to send your higher ups your bank account details. And this one, whenever I saw the information, I was like, this is something that I probably would have done as a very junior leader.
No.
And just think that it was like, it's good initiative, bad judgment.
Yep.
Where you're like, I'm trying to do the best thing I can, but you also are like, oh, these are actual people. They actually have some rights too. And finally, round number 4, Kate interviews Christian Boris of the St. Javelin. Did I say it right?
Yep. Christian Boris of St. Javelin. And it's become a cultural phenomenon, really, but it's the design of Mary Magdalene holding the javelin. And all these other designs have taken off. I'm wearing it right now. I'm going to flash for all those. Ooh, I'm wearing the sunflower seeds.
I love that shirt. Yeah.
But they have a bunch of really awesome designs, and all the money is going towards Ukraine's helping to rebuild Ukraine. And I think he's actually there right now, as we hear in the interview, trying to help the factories get set up there to help bring back their economy too. So pretty cool stuff. Really interesting guy.
It is. And all that today is going to be presented by our good friends at WhistlePig. They created the first 100% rye whiskey, perfect for sipping and mixing. It's made with 100% rye whiskey. It's bold, it's spicy, it's flavorful. It's a bartender's dream. It's delicious. It's the best whiskey in the country. I firmly believe that. And I did it even before they spent any advertising bucks with us whatsoever. I'm glad to have them as a presenting partner. Go pick up your own bottle at shop.whistlepig.com or go get it from a local realtor. Unless you're like our guy, Trey, in Louisiana, who's having all kinds of trouble. They only have like the $400 bottle. And that's the thing. If you imagine not knowing that there was like levels to WhistlePig and being like, well, that fucking tattooed bitch with the red beard is advertising $400 whiskey.
They've got something for everybody.
That for him.
They've got whiskey for the enlisted and officers alike, my friends.
That's they even have it for the Deppers.
Even for the Deppers.
Well, they're pretty young.
If they're old enough.
Yeah, if they're old enough. All right, let's get going with round. You had some things you want to talk about before we started, right?
Well,
you did.
It's TMI. It's just a personal note. It has nothing to do with the military. I don't even know why I'm going to say this out loud. This is a weird thing.
You're going to, so let's hear it.
Okay. It's about breastfeeding.
I mean, the last couple shows you've talked about abortion.
Yeah.
There's been 2 different ones where you've had diarrhea.
That's fair. All right. Let's get into it.
You haven't had a normal story in
I
like a month.
Haven't done breastfeeding or pumped milk in like 4 months now, 4 or 5 months now, at least.
Yeah.
Once he started getting bitey, I said, I'm out.
Oh,
right.
Okay.
Tapping out. I'm done. No, thank you. Pulling on those things, as you would say, like a Stretch Armstrong.
Right.
No, thanks. I said, no, thanks. Well, I'm hanging out the other day and I got a little curious. I'm like, is there any ammo left in the magazine?
See if you need to put it in the amnesty box.
Right. So I just
save rounds and alibis.
Right.
We got any save rounds and alibis in here?
I'm curious. I honk on the old righty for a second. Nothing. Okay.
Honk on alrighty.
Honk on alrighty.
Yeah.
Okay. Nothing. A little bit of dust comes out.
Yeah.
It's like a little, yeah.
Shooting blanks.
I squeeze the lefty. There's still milk in there.
Is it expired?
Well, let me tell you the grossest part.
Like 4 months. That's got to be expired.
Well,
So it comes out and it's kind of a weird, I don't know why I'm saying this out loud, but it was just fascinating to me. I was shocked. I was like, what are you doing in there? So I see it come out a little bit. It's a weird color.
Yeah.
It's like watery, but kind of yellow.
Uh-huh.
And I
okay.
think to myself,
That's cellulitis.
I said, that's cellulitis. My God, my boobs are packed. I was curious. So I tasted it. I know.
And
It was horrible. It was, I don't know if it's all in my head because
What were
it looked
you
weird.
expecting? Like sweetened condensed milk?
It tasted so bad that I don't know if it's because I've been drinking too much Mountain Dew recently. I don't know if it's my diet.
Have you really been drinking Mountain Dew?
It's like all I eat is
Wait,
cereal.
no, we're not skipping over that.
yeah, wait.
You're fucking 35 years old.
I water it down.
Oh, she waters it down, chaps. She waters
What?
it down.
Like it's
That's
fucking
ridiculous.
lemonade.
The baby loves it. Anyway, I
Cuts it with water.
No,
oh my
I
goodness.
No,
I'm
you
just
do. You're currently drinking Mountain Dew.
No, I'm not drinking Mountain Dew.
Yeah, you are.
I'm just saying most of my diet is beets and cereal. Is it me or is it? So then I Googled it. Women can still have milk in their boobs
Yeah.
for up to like 2 years after they're done with that stuff.
But that's got to be like one of those wine bottles you find at the bottom of the sea.
Right,
Like,
that's not
where you
good
don't-
anymore.
You're not supposed to drink that.
I'm just saying, I thought it was crazy. My jaw dropped when I squeezed this one. I was like, nothing, all right. And I squeezed this one and I was like,
Well,
what?
now when you go back in like
Yeah.
4 months, are you going to be disappointed if nothing's
if
there?
nothing's there, kind of.
Like, how is it kind of going to be like your own personal version of earrings? Like where you leave earrings out for like 2 years. Like,
And you
oh, I
go to
still
put
got
the
a
hole back in and there's nothing.
I did that after like 3 years in the Marine Corps with a tongue ring.
Wow.
Mhm.
Totally forgot you had a tongue ring. Throws me
Yeah, and
every time.
I wasn't licking any puss back in the day either.
Jesus.
Anyway, Kate, wait, was this something that you did early on in the breastfeeding days? You like tested out your own supply to make sure it was good for cash?
Oh, in the beginning, before he was even born, so stuff started showing up. I was like, what the hell? Yeah, it's crazy.
Okay.
Anyway.
All right, let's move on to round number 1.
Sorry, that was just on my
Did
mind.
you want to talk about that sharp incident too? I think we should.
So we'll put that in round number 3. We'll include that with the first one. The first story is
We can
maybe
just go to
good
round.
initiative,
A
bad
simple
judgment.
no would have been fine.
Yeah, we'll put it in round 3, but yes, we absolutely
Okay.
want to cover that. You guys won't believe it. Military units being fucking morons with sharp with sexual.
But I
assault
also
prevention.
think it's like sometimes you try and your intention is
It's
so
like
good.
when the army had that sexual assault cake, and you're like, I get that you're trying, but we don't want a cake,
Yeah.
you know. But at the same time,
Yeah, it's bad.
I-
All right, let's do round number 1.
Well,
This one
saying,
comes to us
okay.
from Task and Purpose and David Rosa. It's a little bit about air show, right, Kate?
talking about air shows here, the phones at the police headquarters must be particularly busy these days in the lead up to the Thunder Over Dover air show this weekend, where headline acts such as the Air
Thunder
Force
Over
Thunder.
Dover is a great name.
That
for an air
is.
To
show.
say the exact same thing. What a fantastic name.
Not
Yeah.
as cool when you say the acronym Todd.
No.
No,
No.
the painting was a gift.
I used to have a fucking staff sergeant named Staff Sergeant. What the fuck?
You know what's funny?
Todd.
I don't know a single Todd that isn't a pain in the ass.
I'm trying to remember his last name. They're all
The
pains.
kids I went to school with that were named Todd were like just the
I think it was Myers, maybe Todd Myers, but or no, I mean his last name might have been Todd because I wouldn't have called him fucking Todd.
True.
But either way, he used to go out to. He was the one that got. Do you remember the bucket of nasty story?
yeah.
Yes.
He was the one that got super furious about the bucket of nasty all the time.
Mhm.
Just the picture perfect Todd.
Yep.
Anything that you could possibly do that was fun, he was poo-pooing on it.
Yeah. Well, I'll say it. We're officially rebuking all Todds on the
Yeah.
show. Anyway, at the Todd Air Show this weekend, where headline acts such as the Air Force Thunderbirds and Navy Blue Angels aerial demonstration teams will perform, the Dover Police Department had to post this message. We can't believe we have to say this, but please do not call the police department or 911 about the jet noise from Thunder Over Dover Air Show. It is a complete waste of our resources, and you are potentially putting people at risk who really need help. You live in Dover. There's an air base here. Enjoy the sound of freedom over the next few days. Flag emoji, plane emoji. This event is great for our city. Plus, our Chevy Tahoes aren't catching those guys. Welcome to Dover, Blue Angels and Air Force Thunderbirds. Very cute. Dover
I actually
Police
think that's a
Department.
good from police department. Like, just like, hey guys, they're out there. Go have a good time.
Then they posted a cute little photo of a fighter jet with their little Dover police logo on it. They're like, oh, we might be able to catch them now.
I mean, they're joking, but have you seen police departments and what they're geared? They actually have like MRAPs and shit. So it's not unrealistic that somebody like you would think LA might have one F-18.
Well, it's just crazy.
I want to know what does that call sound like? Hey, it's noisy outside.
I mean, that's what it is for cops. Like, cops get such a bad, like the 90% of the calls that they have to go out on are just insane. Which I'm going to get into that in a second. I pulled some of the craziest calls that cops were sharing, some of the stupidest, craziest calls they've ever had to go to, and first responders in general. But also, too, these people all live around this airbase is one of the busiest in the nation. It's a major departure and return point for troops and supplies heading to Europe and the Middle East, which, as we know, Europe's hopping right now. On the top of the usual traffic comes the range of jets and blah, blah, blah. Basically, there's like 80 million different kinds of planes, from civilian planes to whatever, at air shows. And if you live near an airstrip like that, it is super annoying. Like I lived in Okinawa, I lived on Kadena Air Base, and there was constantly jets going everywhere. I mean, it's an airbase. That's what happens. But it's fucking annoying whenever they're around all the time. Nobody wants that. And if you're not expecting it, something going like breaking the sound barrier above your head is super loud.
Oh yeah, and that'll scare. If you're not prepared for it, that could scare the shit out of you.
And imagine Cash is just getting down, going to sleep. And next thing you know, there's a low run that goes by and makes all the different car alarms go off.
I moved our whole family right across the street from a train station at a crossroads. So yes, I'm an idiot and I know how that goes. But I found some of the dumbest police calls. I just went around looking online, and police and first responders were sharing their stories. It was en route to a domestic argument between a husband and wife called in by a neighbor. They talked about hearing screams, swearing, hitting, arrived to find a dude in his boxers watching Game of Thrones. After receiving a frantic 911 call, the Regina, Canada Fire Department raced off to battle an inferno at the local Canadian Football League stadium. The fire, it turns out, was a burning log displayed on the stadium's giant video screen. They just had like a Yule log type of thing going on. I don't know if it was around the holidays or what. My mother was a 911 dispatcher. One of my favorite stories was a woman who called and reported that a turtle is on my porch and I don't know what to do.
Well, we had that. See, I think people just assume that's like a friendly little turtle. What if it's an alligator turtle? Those things will take your fucking hand off.
I was just snapping turtle.
I was just watching this TikTok video where this mom's recording her two little kids in a stream, like a stream that maybe was 1.5 feet wide.
Oh, I saw this one.
One of the little ones that just goes through a yard. And these kids were probably like 2 and 4. And they're in a hole and they're kind of poking at something. And the stream is so small, you wouldn't think anything would be in there.
They're like playing with pebbles and mud and like very toddler behavior.
But they keep poking at this thing. And finally, the mom's like, well, let me see what it is. She gets the kids out of the way. It is one of those giant snapping turtles that literally could have taken one of their arms.
Yeah, it's an alligator turtle.
Yeah, it was an alligator turtle that like those things can snap through bone. Like those kids were within an inch of like losing them.
And so, but sometimes when you see those videos, you're like, holy shit, that kid could have had its hand taken off. But then when I see people prodding at animals, I always cheer for the animal.
Oh yeah.
There was a guy that recently I forget where they were, but he was like kind of fucking with a lion. And I used to see people.
Oh, I saw that video that Billy posted.
Maybe where they took the end of the finger off.
Yeah.
So the guy's like messing with the lion. The lion grabs a hold of his finger and the guy's like, oh God. And the lion doesn't let go. And the guy rips his finger out and with it comes all the skin on his fingers. His bone is just hanging there. I'm on Team Lion there.
Yeah, Team Lion.
Absolutely.
You gotta be Team Lion.
What do you think's gonna happen when you even domesticated, air quotes, domesticated wild animals, they still have that wild animal instinct in them.
Oh, I don't poke at sport. Fuck your day up.
I used to love giving the watch 'em command, like the bark command, whenever somebody would be fucking with the dog kennels and like at a school or something, people like, hey, what are you can't do shit, dog. You can't. And I'm just like watching them. Like, they turn on. They're like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
Let me back up just a little bit.
So a lot of animal calls, long story short. A lot of people said you wouldn't believe the number of 911 calls that come in at Thanksgiving for people who don't know how to cook their turkeys, who are just desperate for help. A lady called because her neighbor's chihuahuas were having sex and she thought that was disgusting.
That's fair because chihuahuas' dicks are huge for their body.
Yeah.
It's really, it really catches you off guard.
This one, I don't know why this made me laugh so hard. A girl called police because she could hear someone yelling, Steve, very loudly outside and was worried for Steve. She called back and stated that it turned out to just be a motorcycle engine.
That is such a leap.
Steve. I don't know.
Steve. Did you guys used to love to do that on the bus when you would say like what motorcycle companies would say their name when like Kawasaki?
No, dude.
No? Oh,
No.
we used to do
but
that all the time.
I'm currently watching for the first time Sons of Anarchy, and now like the whole 2 weeks we were in Europe, obviously a lot of people there on motorcycles. So anytime I saw a group of motorcycles go by, I would just whisper to myself, Sam Crow.
Oh yeah. A lot of kids calling 911 because their parents pissed them off, like 911 call because my mom's trying to make me go to bed, but it's a lot of hang up calls. And when the parents when the police get there, the kid will admit they called. And why? Because mom was trying to make me go to bed. One girl called 911 because her grandfather was cheating at cards, that kind of stuff. And then there was a police officer who had been a cop for 10 years in 2 different states. And this was his list. Here's some calls I got. The sand in an outdoor volleyball court was too hot. Someone was chased by a baby squirrel. Tourists saw some form of wildlife in a mountain town. I've been to probably close to 100 reports of a stolen car where someone just forgot where they parked. A suspicious person who was not known to the area was the caller's next door neighbor. So yeah, police dealing with a lot of wacky calls, I'm sure, in Dover. There'll be plenty of those.
No doubt about
weekend.
it. All right, let's move on to round number 2. What do we got there, Kate?
Zambia. We're heading over to Zambia. After suffering a ransomware attack by the Hive operation, the Bank of Zambia made it clear that they were not going to pay the hackers' requested ransom. And they did so by posting a picture of male genitalia and telling the hackers to, quite frankly, suck it.
See, I love this. And this is kind of what, even though it was a made up story for the most part with Snake Island, Russia, go fuck yourself. I feel like different groups should just go back to playground.
Well, that was a real
insults.
story, except for that they lived.
No, yeah, right. But all the different things around it, there's
a
lot of fakeness that was around it as well. I think that that's the way that we should approach things.
I agree. It's much more interesting for the show. That's for sure. So last week, the Bank of Zambia, and that's the country's their main bank, it disclosed that recent technical outages had resulted from a cyber attack. While the Bank of Zambia did not disclose the details, Bleeping Computer, that's the website where the story's from, learned that the attack was conducted by the Hive ransomware operation, which claimed to have encrypted the bank's network-attached storage device, NAS. That's the same thing exactly as Fast and Furious. However, instead of paying the ransom, the bank representatives responded to the negotiation by making fun of the hackers' lame skills. They then proceeded to post a link to a dick pic while stating, "Suck this dick and stop blocking bank networks thinking that you'll monetize something. Learn to monetize."
I love, that's the only reason why this is in the show is because that line.
Yeah.
Suck this dick and stop blocking bank networks thinking you will monetize something. Learn to monetize. It's just so unbelievably for an entire group to do that. And like you have all this issues. And that's what you said.
Well, when this reporting site saw the chat between the hackers and the bank on Monday, many people assumed that it was a third party who had also hacked into the chat. And so this was the negotiation conversation. They're thinking, oh, a third party hacked into it is just trolling both parties. But today, Bloomberg reported that the bank's technical director, Greg Nsofu, said that they had protected the bank's core systems, so it was not necessary to engage with the threat actors. They said, so pretty much we told them where to get off.
I love
that. Basically, everyone thought it was third party. It was the bank who was like, suck our dicks. The Bank of Zambia told hackers to suck their dick.
Honest to God, want to move my bank from Navy Federal to the Bank of Zambia simply because of that. Navy Federal would never. And Bank of America never.
Well, so that's the thing. I think so often with these sorts of situations, these banks have very strict protocols. Like if they have any sort of attack, a cyber attack, they follow all these steps. Nowhere in any of the protocol is I think this response. So I think that's what makes it so great.
Yeah. My only complaint is that they kept it male centric.
Yeah.
I'd say tug these flaps should have been added to the end.
I agree.
Thank you.
All right, let's move on to round 3.
Yes. Going on leave. First of all, cons, I don't know, you officers, but chaps, what do you think when you were lower enlisted? What is the most money you had in your bank account?
Oh, I mean, besides like re-enlistment bonus and things like that, like junior, I very rarely had anything over like $2,000. I would say if I had where it's like $2 or $3,000, I thought I was doing well. I started to get concerned less than like $500.
I feel like my average was always around $700 for some reason. And the only thing I like really splurged on was that I bought a car with a single check, but it was it was like 20-year-old beater.
But even
car.
that's a good financial decision because you're not paying the 15-20% interest rate.
Oh yeah.
Mm.
But like, so I was smart with money though. And well, no, I wasn't. That's why I had no money, but I was smarter than most of the lower level, not smart, but like
a lot of backtracking.
I didn't go to strip clubs.
Listen, I was fucking smart as shit.
No, I'm saying these,
I was an idiot.
but like
Don't
that,
get me
like
wrong.
these guys were buying the expensive cars with
Yeah.
like high interest, like all the stereotypical shit that like I wasn't doing. And I still had no money. I don't know where it went. When I came home from deployment, I think I had like $7,000 in the bank and I was like, holy fuck.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I felt like I was like that cartoon of Scrooge McDuck rolling around in the coins.
Definitely when I graduated boot camp, that was the most money I'd ever
yeah.
had in my life by far.
I immediately went to Oceanside. I didn't even know how to surf. I went to this really popular, like famous surfboard house and was like, can I get a custom surfboard made for me, please? Those are like almost $1,000. Like I didn't even know how to surf. I just was like, I got to spend this right away. I need to spend this shit immediately.
Very
So
much
then-
burn a hole in your pocket type approach.
And that's
Very
like, yeah,
much.
all my friends were getting like sleeve tattoo. Like we're not the best with money. Okay. So
Well, I
soon.
mean, you're 20, so many like 18, 19, 20, 21 years old who have never had any type of real money in their bank account without their parents' interference. So it's like the first time that you got your stupid ass Fort Sill National Bank account and you open it up and you're like, well, I'm going to spend this money because my mom can't tell me shit.
Exactly.
And also, when you're in the military, you can see at least till the end of your contract on the enlisted side, and for officers, you can stay however you want. So without fail that paycheck's going to keep coming. So you probably treat that like, well, it's okay if I blow through this month's paycheck because I'll get a whole nother one.
One of
And it is when you have no responsibilities whatsoever.
One of the
Like,
biggest
it is fine.
issues for security clearance in my unit was that people were in debt. And so they couldn't get security clearances that we needed for our deployments because they were in so much debt from just goofing off in Oceanside.
We had a major
thing.
that lost his security clearance because he had refinanced his house too many times. And they're like, it looks like you have a real financial issue and that makes you a liability. We have to step your security clearance down.
Crazy. So anyway, that brings me to US Army what the fuck moments. This was their tweet. Out there in the universe, we see a lot of stupid shit. Somewhere there is a rogue lieutenant running around thinking this is okay. Hopefully they will see the error in their ways. This is only affecting one platoon as far as we know.
And I understand what they're saying there. Like, what the fuck, Army moments. I understand what they're saying. There's no way this is the only time this is
for
happening.
sure.
This is happening all over the place.
So this is a lieutenant's message. Somebody in the unit shared this with US Army what the fuck moments. And this was a message from their lieutenant. If you are going on leave, you need to provide a screenshot of your bank account to prove you have funds for emergency return travel. I'd say move your money to a savings account and leave like $3,000 in your checking to reflect such a statement. That's what I did and had to do for my travel to the States. This is implemented for all current travel, CONUS and OCONUS. The first insane thing is assuming that anyone in his unit has $3,000 in their bank account. There's just absolutely.
I mean, you're probably like the E6s and E7s don't have $3,000 in their bank account.
Right.
Yeah,
And
for the
second,
most
and
part.
especially if they had a family,
Right.
like as young, lower enlisted family were like broke as a joke. Two, we don't have a lot of privacy in the military. You shouldn't have to show anyone your bank account.
I mean, that's just so like
That's rough.
even when you have a lot, like a decent amount of money, like
Yeah.
even if you're decent, showing somebody your bank account always feels like really, even when you're like buying a house or whatever, it feels uncomfortable to do that.
Very invasive.
Nobody wants
Absolutely.
it. Nobody wants to do that.
Well, I
No.
guess people in the comments were saying this probably came about because a bunch of broke ass, I'll say enlisted, could happen to officers too, but we're like traveling when you're stationed in Europe and you have a long weekend or whatever and you want to travel. They were traveling places and then not having enough money to get back to base.
Well, think
when
about all the
weekend
flights
was
that
done.
get canceled now. Like
Yeah.
like all the different
Oh,
cancellation,
true, yeah.
and then going back to Europe could be very expensive if you're doing that last moment.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
But yeah, so basically a bunch of people were commenting we're broke as hell. And so I don't know why you
Yeah,
think we'd have this, but
You know, like we said, good initiative, bad judgment. You could accomplish the same thing without asking for somebody's bank account information or seeing what's in their bank account. You could just sit down your soldiers and say, hey, listen, just be mindful of all of these things for the reasons that you just pointed out, chaps. Like if you do in fact have to make an emergency trip back, we want to make sure you can cover it. And then that's it. You don't need to know how much money they're working with. Cause as we
And
said,
just-
that's just like really weird.
Be an actual leader and tell them how to fucking go about and get it if you do need those funds. I
Yeah,
mean, there's
right.
organizations like Navy Relief that
Yeah.
if you are in that situation where they could do a non-predatory payday loan type of situation where you could get back if you need to, give them information how to restrict them to go see their family because they don't have a bunch of money. Fucking moron.
in his defense though, or her defense, but a woman wouldn't be so stupid to send a message like that out.
True.
I would be curious to see how much everyone in my unit had in their account. Maybe you have a secret rich enlisted, you know what I mean? But then we have a second. So that was a message going around a unit. We have a second one who sent this to you, chaps? Where did you come across this?
I saw this on What the Fuck Moments too.
Oh, okay. So per CSM today, and who's the CSM? Command Sergeant Major.
That's right.
Thank you. Sometimes I ask as if I really don't know. So per CSM today, soldiers will be authorized to wear civilian clothing starting the 30th if the battalion does not have any sharp EO related incidents between now and then. Sharp, basically he's saying if nobody sexually assaults anyone, you guys get to wear jeans.
Yeah. So for those listeners that aren't familiar with those terms, sharp is about sexual assault, sexual harassment, being treated with equality in the workplace.
Yeah.
And then EO is just the overarching theme of that with equal opportunity officer.
Yeah.
Making sure. But to say, and it was said at the middle of the month, hey, fellas, you last 15 days without commenting on one of these broads knockers, you get to wear fucking civvies to work.
That was a way to put it, but
I mean, that's essentially what he's saying, right? Like
they said,
15 days. That's the issue with it.
They said this is not meant to be a deterrent from reporting incidents. More to follow. That line right there. If something had happened and I wanted to come forward, and now people are already going to be like, oh, whatever, and now they're going to be even more mad that I ruined their casual civilian clothing day if I come forward.
That's what you took from it?
I mean,
that's not what I took from this whole thing.
No, that's one of the things I'm taking from it is one, that they have no idea what the fuck they're doing. And two, like that puts even more pressure. Great. If I say something, I'm going to take away this fun reward going to everybody. It puts more pressure on me to not say something. Because people love wear civilian things.
I hadn't thought of it from that angle. That's good. That's a good point.
I was going to say, I think it really depends on what you're normally wearing to work every day. Because if you're just wearing like the, fatigues, camo type uniform, that's a pretty comfortable uniform. I don't see why you would need to wear something other than that.
I feel like you can come up with a lot better incentive programs and you get to wear civvies. It's right. Like that's the same. You're putting in the same equivalent if you do $5 for your what's that foundation that they always get like donations for. You know what I'm talking about? Like where they'll go every single officer and every single hire this person comes and tells you that you need to donate to this. How much of your check are you going to give to donate to these different charities that they have? And they have like a whole list of charities. And you guys know what I'm talking about? You remember them doing that?
Not really. Sorry.
I was humoring you.
You don't remember?
No.
So they would always have and they would make you feel guilty for it if you didn't. So they would they would have somebody come around and be like, do you want to give money to Wounded Warrior? Do you want to give money to this different people? And they have like a list of like 500 organizations that you could pick from.
I remember that.
And then they would be like, we're going to take, it's only like 20, 30 bucks out of each one of your paychecks. Do it. And then they add it up. And then the officer in charge gets a huge award for it because they got so many donations. Yeah. And then all the poor enlisted people that are given their $30.
30 rack of bud for the weekend, friend. Mm-hmm. But I think that this whole thing just shows that this Command Sergeant Major is completely out of touch with, quite frankly, everything, which is just an interesting. And then final note on this round, we talked about last week, the incident where the commander of the unit out in Jordan, and now where we were even talking about this today, the wording of it, that in the actual UCMJ report, they wrote that he motorboated this junior soldier during a promotion ceremony that she didn't want in the first place. And somebody messaged me to say the fact that the UCMJ language even used motorboated, which is like a joke from
very strange.
That's also very fucked up. Like even when we were doing the episode, that didn't occur to me, but like they're like even putting it in that terminology, like, no, that's like a funny word that the movies gave it. But like really what he did.
I think that's the only way that like, because imagine if they put down what actually happened in descriptive language, like when you go to MP school training, for example, whenever you're pulling over a car, they don't tell you I'm pulling over a black car. They say, I'm pulling over a car that appears to be black in color. So then you're going to be precise with your language. If you're writing this as a UCMJ attorney and you're going for like an Article 15 hearing and he put his face near her breast and made a raspberry type noise where he blew his lips in and moved his face around, there's no way you could get away with not charging him with sexual assault. So I think them using that language is intentional to minimize what actually happened.
Yeah, I do think
if you put it in like descriptive language, there's no way you can describe what a motorboat is without it sounding exactly like a sexual assault, because that's what it was.
Yeah. So that was crazy. I got a message about that. And I also got so many other messages, again, countless, from men and women telling their own stories that are just like the military needs to be better. And then finally, I got a couple messages, one in particular from an officer in a National Guard unit who said, "Oh, we've got one of those guys in our unit." And a bunch of the other officers are on the fence of, do we self-preserve our own ranks, or do we come forward against this guy? And oh my God, come forward for the love of God, do the right thing.
Yeah.
Have a little bit of, so I don't know how much I can say on that front, but I have a feeling more will be coming out soon on that front. But that's the scuttlebutt. I call that round little scuttlebutt. Couple things going around. Round number 4, interview with Christian Boris of St. Javelin. And I guess we'll just kind of jump right into it.
Yep. All that today, or that interview is going to be brought to you by our good friends at Rocky Boots. Rocky Boots build boots for the men and women that serve and protect the country. They are designed and built for the U.S. and each one of the individual branches. If you haven't tried them yet, try them out. They're incredibly comfortable, whether you're getting the ones that have steel toe or you're just going out doing a little light hiking. Whatever you need to do it with Rocky Boots. Go to rockyboots.com, enter the promo code ZBT at checkout for 25% off your next pair of boots. Here's the interview.
We are now joined on Zero Blog 30 by the phenomenon that has taken over pop culture in raising funds for Ukraine. It's St. Javelin, the creator of St. Javelin, Christian Boris. Thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, thanks a lot for having me.
And you first came across my radar. I started to see the design popping up across the internet, and it's Mary Magdalene holding a javelin. Or was it initially the Virgin Mary, or...
I honestly have no idea. I like, some people said it's the Madonna.
Yeah.
So sorry. It is the Madonna, because the original artist, the original painting was the Madonna with a Kalashnikov, and then it was just the Kalashnikov was replaced with the javelin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess I assigned it Mary Magdalene since
I did, because I had no idea. People were asking me, like, what is it? And I said Mary Magdalene in some interview, and then said, like, yeah, it's Mary Magdalene. I was like, okay, cool. I guess so.
Yeah, but it's this badass design. There's the Madonna holding a javelin, which, for those of you who don't know, it's a portable anti-tank missile that has been super important in this war. And it's kind of become a symbol of the resistance. And the US and NATO have sent thousands of them at this point over there, and they're helping get the job done. So you were in Toronto, you see what's going on, and you decide to, you make this design, you start selling patches and shirts. Like, how did this all begin? What are your ties to Ukraine?
Yeah. So I didn't even make the design.
It
was just a meme that was on the internet. So for context, I used to be a journalist, and I lived in Ukraine for 5 years. So I covered all like the frontline stuff, right? I worked with BBC, Vice News, bunch of different ones. And I lived in Kyiv from 2014 to 2018. So in some of my group chats with like colleagues, like journalists and defense analysts and guys like that, there was a meme that became popular. I think it was around probably 2018 or 2019, something like that. Because that was when the first talk of Ukraine wants javelins started to come up.
Yeah.
And when things started to get more, like when it became more apparent that of what was about to happen around December, January, our group chat, one of the guys shared that meme that now is like famous everywhere, right? And he told me that he had printed a bunch of stickers and gave them out to guys at like Jane's Defense and stuff like that. And they had them on their laptops. And quite literally, my only idea was like, shit, I want that too. So yeah. I have a marketing company in Toronto, and I told our designer who's in Lviv, this guy Eugene, I asked him, can you redo it so that we can have a vector file so we can print stickers in Toronto? So he did that. I put it up on my Instagram, and I just said, hey guys, I'm going to make a bunch of stickers. If anybody wants one, message me. Got a bunch of messages, got so many messages that I said, okay, well, I'll put up a website tonight. I put up the site, and then there was 2 orders that night, and I put it up at like 11:30. So there was like 2 orders right away. And then the next day, I remember I woke up and it was like, there was a bunch of orders, but they were all people I knew. And then at the end of the day,
thanks, Mom. Thanks for buying one.
Yeah. Like
thanks, Aunt Deb.
Right? And then by the end of the day, it was like $1,000, and I started seeing names I didn't know at all. And then the next day it was $5,000, and it just, like my fiance, when I ordered 100 stickers, she was like, this moron's gonna have 50 stickers at home, right? And I honestly, I thought if I get to $500, like that'll be amazing. And then it just kept on spiraling and spiraling, and now we're over 2.5 million Canadian. I guess that's like probably 2 million US and sold. And I was just doing the math the other day. We've either donated already or committed or whatever, over 1 million Canadian. Like I just sent another like 160 or something thousand yesterday. It's completely insane. And now like the Minister of Defense of Ukraine, we message each other on Facebook, and like
I see him showing you love on there like every other day. He's got the patch on, and he's like, hey, I got the president of Ukraine your stuff. Here you go. Like,
He messaged me yesterday, and he said that he sent me a picture of him wearing the patch, and then he said, hey, the president has your patch too. Just wanted to let you know. So it's somebody described it as like the cultural phenomenon of the war. So we're just trying to turn it into ways that we can keep it sustainable now.
Yeah, and I saw that the Ukrainians World Congress just began a partnership with you.
And
that's going to get even more. And this money, like that, it's great because it's their way of helping Ukraine, and then they also have this physical way of showing their support for it too, which is really cool. I wouldn't be surprised if I start to see them all over the city soon. But this money goes like straight to like frontline stuff, like it is really helping the cause.
Yeah, now it definitely is. Like that organization, Ukraine World Congress, they've been around for 50 years or something like that. They started in the 70s. So when Ukraine was still, the USSR, and they've put about $20 million worth of aid into Ukraine since this thing started. Like I know those guys, right? I've literally seen what they've been able to do. Klitschko, they sent like $4.5 million worth of first aid kits and bulletproof vests and helmets and stuff like that. So now all of our profits are going to them, because it became such a huge, it literally became a full-time job just to like disperse the money. And we're constantly getting bombarded with requests, right? For like $1,000, whatever. And I want to do that, but at the same time, it's a lot of work and it's a distraction from like what we do best, right? So if I can just give that money to an organization and they can do what they do best with it,
right?
It's the best scenario for us. And then we just focus on trying to keep this thing moving.
And speaking of, I mean, how did that, like you said, pretty much overnight, this thing blew up. How did you keep up with that? At first, were you just like, asking anybody for help? Like how have you been able to keep up and grow with it?
At first it was like panic attacks.
What have I done?
It was like this.
Next thing you know, you're in a profile by the New York Times that it's gonna even just grow from there. And
it was so initially it was just the stickers, and then I remember I placed the order for 100 stickers and I was like, yeah, cool, we're good. And then I had to call the next day and order 1,000 stickers. And I've never like shipped stuff before. So I didn't understand how much work that is to like literally put the thing in the envelope and like get the address, print the label, all that sort of stuff. Right.
Yeah.
So then people started demanding other stuff. They're like, give me hats, give me shirts, give me blah, blah, blah. So we added t-shirts and we figured we'd make them ourselves. Cause when it started, I thought this was going to last a couple days or something. Right. So I think that first order of shirts, we did like 50 shirts or 100 shirts or something like that.
Right.
And we ended up selling like 1,000 shirts in a couple days. And then it really became completely impossible to make it work manually. So we found a company that is a third-party fulfillment company. So like when you order on the site, they just make it for us and they ship it. So we don't even see it. Right. Which sometimes has become a problem because the quality hasn't been there, but like they've been able to replace, like if people complain about the quality, they just replace it. But our goal now is to everything that we make, we want to make it in Ukraine. So I was there last month and that's what I was figuring out, like which factories can we use, which brands can we partner with, stuff like that to actually make it in Ukraine, because I feel like going forward, people would rather buy made in Ukraine rather than made in China. So I'm banking on that being a way for us to make this sustainable. So for example, we also put out a request because a lot of people asked us for coyote brown shirts so that they could wear it under their uniforms and stuff like that. So we're trying to make like a comparable t-shirt to, I don't know, Patagonia or Arc'teryx or something like that, like something that's really, really good and would stand on its own. So we asked our audience, what do you guys actually want from a t-shirt so that we can make like something that they actually would wear regardless of the logo. And then we just put the St. Javelin logo on it. They wanted like the Ukrainian Armed Forces logo that Zelensky always wears on his t-shirt. So we have a bunch of mock-ups. Now it's just, we're trying to find the right factories in Ukraine that could actually make it for us and like the fabrics and all that stuff to make it, you know, as good as possible. So we're doing a bunch of stuff like that now.
That's cool too. To me, like it's not only, you know, it's the meme, it's supporting Ukraine, but to feel like, oh, it was also made in Ukraine while they're at war. Like that adds to me another layer of like, these people are fighting till the end. Like there's nothing stopping them. They're still conducting business while this is all going on. It's still like, you know, that helps the economy too. I think that's such an awesome idea. And I saw like, you're also very involved still in the news and stuff that's going on. I see you retweeting all the latest updates and everything. And you just retweeted, it was this Russian state TV. It was the defense columnist who basically, you know, it's normally propaganda. He's like, you are all really underestimating the will of these people. Yeah. And I feel like that is a symbol of this, like nothing's slowing them down.
Somebody made a really good point about that interview too, because they said that like that guy has a history of saying these types of things and being, you know, very pragmatic and like logical, right? And not just spewing propaganda. And somebody said that putting him on television in itself, understanding what he was probably about to say, is pretty symbolic, because it shows that like there's people who are in charge of programming in Russia who are probably who want that person to be heard, right?
Right.
But yeah, for us, it's like we have hats being made in Kharkiv right now, which, you know, the Ukrainians just pushed the Russians out of Kharkiv, but like we placed that order, I don't know, a few weeks ago. So we're working with factories and manufacturers and stuff that are honestly like 50% of their staff are like at war, or half their factories committed to making materials for war or whatever, right? Because we could easily make all our stuff in Lviv and in Western Ukraine and it'd still be great, but we want to have, even if it's just like a tiny financial impact, or even if it's like a morale impact, we want to order from factories that have really been affected by the war, right? So another one is from Chernihiv, which is like the northern part, like north of Kiev. Because when they invaded from Belarus, they came straight to Chernihiv and then they went to Kiev. So any of these areas, that would really, I think it'd just be really important to try to support those people. And then like when you buy that product, it'll have a tag that shows it was made from that factory and like you can understand who you're supporting, right?
That's really cool.
We're trying to do a lot of stuff like that now, instead of just being like, hey, new meme, print a shirt. It'll be more like just more thought out, I guess.
It really means something. It's probably cool for them to see too. We're making this stuff there's so many people out there supporting us who are rooting for us, and that's probably really good for morale as well. Speaking of morale, on the opposite end of that, you're starting to get some haters too. So I saw the Russian cowboy coming at you the other day. Have you been getting a lot of weirdos coming out of the woodwork?
We got a bunch of people who said it was blasphemous, which I totally expected.
Right. Yeah.
But no, I think that was the first DM that I like personally got to my Facebook. That was, he said something like, I hope your dad should have pissed you into a cactus or something like that, which is pretty good insult, right? But
yeah, great imagery.
But then I looked through his Facebook and I was like, oh my God, this guy's photos are unbelievable. Yeah. Like the cowboy communist pose and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah. He's wearing a pair of like assless chaps holding a pistol with a Russian flag behind him. It's like West meets right. Yeah. It was very bizarre. I had to bring it up because that was very strange.
Yeah. and he's Slovakian. And I figured out that he was working for a Slovakian hockey team. So then I tweeted out at the Slovakian hockey team, and I'm pretty sure that guy's not going to be working for that anymore.
Yeah. Not because of his views, but mostly because of the chaps he was wearing. That really, they said, no, this guy, not for us. But it's just been incredible to watch the rise of this, of St. Javelin, and how much you're helping and how quickly you were able to adapt. Like you said, there's been growing pains for sure along the way, but it's awesome too. And you're heading back to Ukraine, you said, in June.
Yeah, I'm going to go back probably June 1st to June 10th. Because we've hired a bunch of, like, our mandate, I referenced Patagonia before. So Patagonia's mission statement is we're in business to save the environment. So I kind of ran with that and said, well, okay, we're in business to rebuild Ukraine. So everything that we do, be it like, you know, I want to hire Ukrainians who are either in Ukraine or displaced or like diaspora. I want to work with Ukrainian manufacturers and make sure that everything that we're making is in Ukraine. I want to work with Ukrainian brands. So I don't know if you saw that tracksuit. That tracksuit is hilarious. But so that tracksuit, those guys made tracksuits for Tom Segura and Bert Kreischer.
Oh, sick.
So they're like kind of known, right?
Yeah.
And one of our guys, we had a bunch of people in our audience requesting tracksuits, like Adidas tracksuits. And then one of our guys said, why don't you talk to the Sewing Brothers in Ukraine? So when I was there, I went to go see them and I said, here's what we've been doing. You guys make amazing shit. Let's work on something. And then a week later, they had a prototype and I went to go try it on. And I was like, this is the best fucking tracksuit I've ever seen.
Hell yeah.
And it's great because, like, obviously their shit has slowed down because of the war. But if we can do this collaboration with them and sell, I don't know how many tracksuits, but whatever we can do, like, it's great for them too, right?
I'll have to tell the guys here at Pardon My Take, they do Jumpsuit January where they wear nothing but tracksuits every single day of the work week.
Oh, so really?
I'll have to send them the link to that. That'll be badass.
Yeah, I would love their feedback because we still need to figure out, like, what does the design look like and everything. But I think we honestly should have them like next week for pre-order.
Very cool. And besides that, what's next now that you see how this has grown? Like, has this made you step back and look at your own career and everything else in like a bigger picture? Do you see yourself heading in a different direction now than before this all began? Like, what's next for you?
Oh yeah. My life is completely different.
Yeah.
Like so my fiance is pregnant, which makes things very complicated. Yeah, thanks. But I've been away like 3 times for a while. My business is completely on the side now because I see this as a way like I literally picture this as Patagonia but made in Ukraine, like that kind of brand that can have legs and last for a long time. And maybe you're not I guess this is kind of zoomed out, but that's the image, right? So maybe you're not wearing this whole thing on a t-shirt, but maybe you're just wearing something that says St. Javelin, right? And it's a really good quality piece of clothing or product or whatever. And you support it because it's made in Ukraine and you know the money's going to a good place. So for me, that's like a very fulfilling thing because I lived there for a long time, right? Yeah. So when I came back, I always wanted to find a way to like merge my life and spend half my time there or whatever. So I think that that's a way that we can do this. But another thing that I think will give us that sustainability is we're theoretically signing a memorandum with the Ministry of Defense on Sunday to be allowed to procure the destroyed equipment and turn it into like collector's items and stuff like that. So we already have mock-ups of how that's going to look and like, what does that process look like? Like we have a law firm working on it with us in Kiev. So I'm like really, really, really pumped about that because I think that we a lot of people have asked about it, right?
And what do you mean? Like, can you explain that a little more?
Yeah. So it would be like, imagine you have a trophy, right? Like it's a glass case, and in that glass case, you have like a 2x2 inch piece of like a T90 or a T80 or a T70 or a piece of a Russian jet or like a helicopter or something like that. And then there's a plaque and it says, like which town it was destroyed, potentially like which unit of the Ukrainian military, which date, and then a QR code that goes to a web page and accumulates info about like that piece of equipment specifically. So I had the idea a while ago. I think it came from somebody in our audience actually, but looking at other conflicts, Serbia did this when they shot down the F-117. I think they shot down 2, or I can't remember exactly what it was, but they made like 5,000 pieces from that Nighthawk. And it's like, I guess it's a way to take all that destroyed Russian equipment and turn it into something valuable for Ukraine, because otherwise it's just like, it's scrap metal that's worthless pretty much. Right. So if we can turn it into collector's items, and then
the wall at Applebee's is about to get a lot spicier. You're gonna put a whole bunch of new knickknacks up there. Russian tank.
Yeah. And then like we can do it for, regular collectors, and then like museum quality stuff, because there's already a lot of that being accumulated in Ukraine. So it's something that I think would be it's really difficult to pull it off, but if we can do it, it's awesome. And
that's a really interesting idea.
Yeah.
And finally for me, so why did you pick Ukraine when you first started going? Like, you could have gone anywhere to be a journalist. Like, why did you pick Ukraine? Why Ukraine?
Well, my dad's Ukrainian. So my dad's Ukrainian, but he lives in Poland. He was born in Poland. My mom's Polish as well. But like I'd been there so many times before. The first time I went was like 2004, 2005. And then the war was obviously happening. So for journalists, it's like the most interesting place to be, right?
Yeah.
So then, I stayed there for 5 years.
And if you had to sum up like the people, like what you love about it, the people, like in a couple sentences, what would you say is like?
They're funny as hell. They're super, super funny. It's like very dry, dark humor. A lot of them. They're very, I don't know. I really, really love the people in that country, and it's a beautiful country. Like, I don't want to say it's undiscovered, but in a large way, like a lot of people were scared to go to Ukraine before 2014, right? And then if you go to like Western Ukraine, you go to the mountains there and you see how beautiful it is, and how kind of like remote and raw it is. It's an incredible place. And then you go to Kyiv and you're like, holy shit, this is a world-class city, right? It's like people start calling it the new Berlin and stuff like that. So it's an amazing place to be. Now obviously it's a lot different, but I think that they've already started like the rebuilding process. So
with the help of St. Javelin and stuff like that, who knows? And 5 years from now, my son and I will be in our St. Javelin tracksuits cruising around Kyiv, and that's the goal. That's the dream. But I think you're doing really incredible work. I think it's awesome that, again, like this derails your own. You have a lot going on, I'm sure, in your personal life, especially with the baby on the way. And it seems like you're just improvise and adapt and overcome. It's what we always say in the Marine Corps, and it sounds like you're doing an incredible job at that. So thank you for your time. And people can find you on Twitter at It's Boris. Where can people find the clothes? Like where do people go to find you?
stjavelin.com. So it's like SAINT javelin.com. I think our Twitter is at St. Javelin, and then Instagram is at St. Javelin as well. But you have to type it in like perfectly, because we got shadow banned for saying some shit that I guess I'm not allowed to say.
As they're cracking down on like violence and bullying and stuff. And it's tough for the war beat. I understand on social media. But again, thank you so much for your time. I got some St. Javelin gear. You guys sent me some, and I had just bought some. I'm looking forward to wearing it. I know I got for Chaps the sunflower seeds, the t-shirt there, because he loved that. But really, thank you for your time. Everybody go check them out. Go support the cause. St. Javelin. Thank you, Christian. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Great guy. Interested to see what is next for them. And I'm wearing, again, as I said, I'm wearing one of their shirts right now. I got the coffee mug. I got the sticker. It's on my laptop as we speak over here. But yeah, just really interesting. And like, I see stuff happening and I'm like, oh man, I should help. And then I'll donate here and there. Or I'll say something on my Instagram, but like people who set their whole lives aside to go and help, it's always really impressive to me. So
no doubt.
Shout out Christian Boris.
All right, let's move on to save rounds and alibis. I'll start today. I got to go on Friday night. I went to the oldest VFW in the state of Texas, and it was lovely. I'd never been there before. I'd heard about it, but I was like, how many people are possibly there all the time? Like it looked like a cool old mansion.
Right. Yeah,
and
like an old, yeah.
I guess I kind of still had, Kate and I were talking about it earlier. There's something about the VFW where even though we clearly, all three of us clearly belong at a VFW, Veterans of Foreign Wars, that's us. We've all been to foreign wars. You still feel like you don't belong. Like there's certain areas, certain things that you do where even if you are doing it, you don't feel like you belong there.
I think like you look at those places and you like, I have this idea of what it is, even though I know better. We've met so many people who belong to VFWs. We've gone to do so like
national convention.
Yes. But like you look at it and you're like, oh, there's already an established group there. They've already got their thing set up.
I'm not cool enough to
like,
get that.
I'm not cool enough. Well, it's like the one in Florida that I drove by and I was like, oh my God, this place is fucking hopping. And I was like, I couldn't go in there. And it's like, well, sure you could, but I was like, I felt like if I did, the music would stop. It'd be like an old Western. It's like, who's she coming in here?
But
like,
I don't know what I expected going into this place. And I walked in and it, like, as soon as you walk in, it has these old, like Texas wood floors that you could just tell that's Texas live oak on the floor, a swinging door, like an old style saloon. When you walk in, they have nothing but the main domestic type beers that are on the wall. Like, what do you want? I'll have a Dos Equis. We ain't got none of that fancy shit here. I'm like, hell yeah, that's exactly what I like. But I was blown away because they are trying to make it more modern. There was a vape vending machine.
It's interesting.
When you sent us that, I was very,
it's almost like those old, when you go to an old bowling alley and they had the cigarette vending machines that they'll have still on like Stranger Things where you pull it and then you get a thing of cigarettes.
Those are the best.
It was like that. And because I was like, well, maybe it's just CBD. I was like, no, it's Delta 8. And there was like 3 cheese stuff in there too.
Yeah.
And I was thinking that's fucking awesome because
I've been vape vending machine.
I mean, we've talked about that. Not like my buddy Wiz Khalifa lives in, Ryan, he lives in Michigan. And I told him if I ever moved to that area, I would love to have like a veterans bar where on like Friday or Saturday night, people can bring in their weed and you can smoke weed and you can hang out and then you can have a drink if you want to do all those different things. You can already do that at the fucking VFW for free.
Yeah.
Like, it's not even like a huge cover charge.
Yeah.
To me, if all of them put in something like that, that becomes a bigger hangout part. Like, especially in places like Texas where weed isn't legal, like you can go there and have some Delta 8 and just hang out and chill. Be awesome.
Yeah, that's a delight.
And I went there because I went to Beto O'Rourke's. I had a veterans town hall, and I went to just go see what he was talking about. Because, I mean, I do get kind of skeptical about somebody who's running for governor about what they can do to impact veterans, because so much of it comes from the executive branch and the legislative branch on the federal side. It's like, what could he possibly fucking do? But he actually had some really good ideas I hadn't thought about. And you want to hear a couple?
Free vending machines?
Free vending machines with nothing but weed.
Watered down Mountain Dew.
His first one, well, I don't want to say first, but one of the major one was legalize marijuana in Texas completely for all veterans, especially, but everybody. So you can get it medicinally and be covered under your insurance, which is huge. 2, he says that he has a plan in place and they've done like the budgeting on it and everything. And 2 years after governor, that he feels like he can essentially make veteran homelessness a net zero in Texas.
Wow, that's a bold claim, dude.
That's what when I saw it, like I kind of like sat back in my chair and I was like, there's fucking no way. Like that, it just seems so unrealistic.
That's like when you're in high school or like middle school and I was running for a class secretary or whatever. I didn't even know what that meant. I was like, I promise an 82% uptick in field trips this year if I am the one selected. And you're like, okay, sure.
That's exactly. But I went back and looked into the plan, and it's one of those things where it seems so simple that it's not possible to work. But I really feel like it could. Like some of there's these grants with the housing, with the HUD, and you can get different grants for that. And you can apply it to state funds and then combine the state funds that they already give to veterans. And they combine those together and create like these veteran villages. And you have people like jobs that are city jobs that people get worked into, and they have different treatments and things like that you can essentially eliminate it. And I was like, I don't know if that's realistic or not, but I want to talk about it more. So he's going to come on the podcast and kind of explain it. And there's a couple other things that he wanted to do in Texas, which I thought was great. Like one right now, honest to God, I mean, people that listen to this show and listen consistently know that I'm having a lot of issues with trans rights, because my kid is non-binary in Texas, and there's so much local and state legislation that has come across that is trying to limit access to medical care and all kinds of different things, label me and my wife as child abusers.
Yeah.
And the only reason why I'm saying in Texas right now is because tax wise, it really benefits me as a disabled veteran with 100% being able to stay in Texas. I don't pay land tax. I don't pay income tax. I don't pay any of that stuff. So I have a lot more money in my pocket because I live in Texas. There's no doubt about that. However, I think that they should increase that same type of benefit to more people, because getting 100% is very difficult.
Yes, it is.
And veterans are so good to have in your community whenever you're there. So have like an incentive to move veterans to Texas. He's saying if you even have 10% from the VA, you're going to get a large amount of your taxes taken away, like for land taxes and things like that, to get more veterans to move there. And I think it's a great idea. Like if you're a state, because right now when I'm looking at different states to move, states that would be more inclusive to my kid, when I look at them, I'm like, well, what are the veteran benefits that are there? Illinois has some good ones. California has some good ones. New Mexico has some good ones, but nobody comes even remotely close to Texas.
Yeah.
Like not even close. So if Texas takes what they're already the best at, which isn't much at this point, if they take the things that they're already the best at and increase that.
Barbecue and land tax discounts.
Right.
Good stuff.
Chaps, I'm as you know, we're, starting to peruse houses and stuff. And I'm so jealous of that benefit in Texas, because that is a huge financial impact. And I don't know why, states just don't adopt that across the country. I know New Jersey has some breaks, but again, you have to be at 100 to get that similar break. And as we know, like 100% disability just isn't as common as people probably think it is.
Well, I'll give you an idea of how impactful that is. So my old house that I lived in before I moved, the mortgage was, for us, it was like $1,400 a month. My next door neighbor bought the house 4 months after us. It was the same exact house, because it was one of those McMansions in Texas. So everything is essentially the same. His mortgage rate that he paid, same exact time, $2,600.
That's absurd.
So it's double. Like you're essentially paying double in some parts for your property tax.
Yeah, that is a huge incentive.
So I'm sitting in the same exact house for $1,300 a month as he is for $2,600 a month.
Right.
And if you're a veteran that lives in New York and you're getting 100% and you're staying in New York, as opposed to what you could get in Texas, like house-wise, it's just night and day difference. It just is.
Oh yeah.
So
interesting. And the vibe, like what was the general vibe of the
weird? It was,
yeah.
I mean, not because of Beto or anything, but I just think any type of town hall and any type of political event,
it's awkward.
It's just everybody in there's a fucking weirdo.
But you would go back, like you would go back again though and just hang out.
Yeah, I mean, I it's something that I probably need to do more, is be more active in my community and because you earn this right. Like we talk about being veterans, and you do have a voice that people care about and that people want to hear, and that perspectives that matter, like even on issues of like race and social justice and things like that, coming at it from a veteran perspective and saying, I want this liberty for all people. It's an impactful thing. And I feel like having this platform and certain issues that are in my life, I feel like I have to do that. I have a responsibility to be more vocal and be more engaged in local politics and things like that.
Well, those groups are awesome too. In DC, they're powerhouses. They're really powerful and they do make really helpful changes for veterans. So yeah, we should make our resolution this year to start going to some. And
I definitely want to go. And if I told my wife whenever we were there, if you're in the San Antonio area and be interested, I'd love to just go back to that oldest VFW in San Antonio. And if you want to do that with me, just hit me up on Twitter or Instagram, and I'll let you guys know whenever I'm going out and do that. We can hang out and rip some Delta 8 vapes together. It'd be awesome. But that really leads us into a good ad read, I guess. Cross Country Mortgage. Whenever you're feeling the intimidating process of buying a home, you need the best support from the most qualified people available. Cross Country Mortgage has a team of experts dedicated to helping you accomplish the mission of buying a home. Cross Country Mortgage has a team of loan officers dedicated to getting you the best possible loan terms. They have close time of 21 days and a wide variety of loans that helps you make sure that you're going to be covered no matter what. And they have some exciting news. They're giving away a Barstool and Cross Country Mortgage sweatshirts when you sign up to get the refinanced or pre-approval while supplies last. Go to ccm.com/barstool so Cross Country Mortgage can take care of you through the buying process. Cross Country Mortgage LLC MLS 3029. All loans are subject to underwriting approval. www.mlsconsumeraccess.org. I wish I could be like the Micro Machines guy on those things. Those little things that you got to read. All right. What about you, Kate? What do you got?
Can I say what we're doing tomorrow night?
Yeah.
Well, or tonight as you listen, or
let's set it up before. So we want to do on Friday. On Friday, we're going to talk a little bit about Top Gun 1. We're gonna see what we have you watched it lately?
The original?
Yes.
Yes.
When's the last time you watched it?
The recent 5 years ago.
All right.
Oh.
So while I'm here, we're gonna find a room and we're gonna watch it.
Okay.
Cons, if you want to come in and watch it too, we're gonna watch that again. We're gonna do a review of Top Gun 1 on Friday, and then on Tuesday night, Kate, now you can tell the news.
We're going to watch the new one. Paul
Mhm.
over at Task and Purpose.
Paul Soldier.
Yep. He hooked us up with a viewing on the Intrepid.
Mhm.
So we're going to get to go watch it. There is this Terminal Lance cartoon where it's a bunch of Marines in the Marine Corps on base movie theater watching Battle LA. And they're all sitting in the chairs and they all have giant boners watching it because it's so great. And I have a feeling I'm going to have a boner.
I feel like
the
it too.
reviews are so good.
And they're so good. And even from Marines that I know, like that have seen it, that are in media too, and they're like, dude, I wanted to hate it because it's
That's what everyone's
Navy,
saying. I wanted
but
to
it's
hate it. And
just
God
so
damn
fucking
it.
good. I
It's
can't-
really good.
Even Khan's clearly not a Navy guy, huge
No.
Top Gun guy.
Yeah.
I'm a huge Top Gun guy. I watched that so many times with my dad.
How much does
growing
it
up.
upset you that that's Navy?
It hurts me to my core. Like
Because I think it's the quintessential cool military movie.
yes.
Like if
yes.
you said, name me the coolest military character of all time, I think 90% of it comes back to Top Gun.
Yeah, because so many of the other military movies are a lot more serious and a lot more dark, whereas this one's just kind of, I mean, I get that they shoot down some MiGs and all that good stuff, but overall, it's
I guess we're just going to gloss over Goose.
Oh yeah, well, Goose dies, so that never gets easier viewing, no matter how
Yeah.
old you get. But
Mhm.
yeah, no, you can't really argue with Maverick. He's and despite the fact that he's 5.
We're going to do the review on Friday, Cons. Thank you
Yeah.
very much.
Yes.
You know
All
what
right.
else I hate? Like I love to hate Tom Cruise, and I feel like this is bringing everyone back around on Tom Cruise.
Yeah,
True.
because he's
It's
been
very
so
upsetting.
great.
He's doing his own stunts that are like apparently incredibly
Got
badass.
that thick ass again.
He's got a thick ass.
Any
I'm
save rounds,
excited.
Kate?
No, did I talk about my breast milk yet?
Yes, you did.
Nick, what about
Thankfully.
you? Any save rounds, Nick?
No save rounds for me.
All right, Cons.
Yeah, one other thing I forgot to mention, Kate, you were talking about history. The place we stayed in Antibes was F. Scott Fitzgerald's old villa that he owned.
Ooh, he wrote the whale book,
Yes. Yeah, that was it.
To Catch a Whale
Yeah.
by F. Scott Fitzgerald.
I don't really have anything.
Isn't that? Oh, he wrote Razzle Dazzle.
Great Gatsby,
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
the whale book.
Okay.
Whale book.
Well, you know what I'm talking about. The whale eats everyone on the ship.
Moby Dick?
Yes, thank you.
Nope.
Okay.
Southern Retreat.